What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Deadly. Today we're talking about the Cycle Frontier, which just released free to play on Steam, and I want to talk about my thoughts and opinions on the game so far and discuss some of the best features and what it has to offer to the genre, as well as some of the concerns players have over its microtransactions and game balance. So if you're wondering what's the Cycle all about, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it, and some of my favorite Tarkov streamers have been playing it. Basically, it is a sci-fi Tarkov experience. You are a prospector, you are on a space station, you deploy down to an alien world where you go and collect resources like mining, looting, killing other players, killing AI aliens that are resembling dinosaurs, and you extract with your loot. If you die, you lose everything on your character except for your secured container, and you are able to expand your secured container, stash size, and generate different currencies. The Kmart currency and even the currency that you purchase with money can be generated by expanding your hideout, very similar to Escape from Tarkov. And like Escape from Tarkov, you have dealers that you can level up and do different missions and jobs to get different rewards, currencies, money, and items that you need to level up your hideout. This is a free-to-play game. It's available on Steam, and there are microtransactions with skins and the ability to purchase ARM. And ARM allows you to time skip in your hideout whenever you're doing upgrades, but then also you have the ability to purchase premium insurance. This premium insurance is exactly how it works in Escape from Tarkov. If you use the insurance on your gear, if a player takes it out, you don't get the item back. You get a small amount of K-marks back in return. But if you die to, say, an alien, or if the group that killed you wasn't able to make it out of the match, then you get that item back over time. And of course, if you play with a group, your friends are able to ditch and hide that loot on the map so you can get it back later, just like Escape from Tarkov. And the biggest reason why I'm making so many comparisons to EFT is because Tarkov is the best game, in my opinion, in the genre, and the Cycle has been heavily influenced by the success and the features that Tarkov has to offer, which is a good thing. We need more games that are Tarkov-like in different genres to attract more players to these games, because in my personal opinion, they're some of the most fun FPS shooters that I've personally played in a very long time. So now that you know a little bit more about the Cycle, now it's time to talk about the launch day. So both in the closed beta 1 and closed beta 2, there was some pretty severe server issues that caused some complications for long periods of time. Thankfully, on launch day, there was a few server problems, but nothing as lengthy as there was in the beta tests. I played for over 12 hours. I personally never had any major issues with servers dropping out or long-term inability to play. So that was a huge plus, and it looks like they had way more servers available for us to play. So the first thing that I noticed whenever I was jumping into the game for the first time is there's definitely differences with the Ballistics from the launch to the last beta test that I played. Now, I was told that they were tweaking with some of this at the end of this closed beta 2. I never got a chance to play that, so all of this was new to me. So there's damage drop-off now. The further away your target is, the less damage your bullets will do, except for the bolt action. The bolt action is probably one of the most controversial weapons in the Cycle. It is available right away for 6,800 K-marks, so at least everybody has access to it, but you'll quickly find, especially on the Bright Sands map, which will be the first map that you play on the most, this weapon is key. Like, especially as a solo player, whenever you are running without one of these bolt actions, you're almost always missing it. It's going to give you the opportunity to snipe and engage groups, especially to chip away at their body armor and actually pin them down to prevent them from pushing you. And it's going to give you just more maneuverability and capability of killing those solos, because you know if you shoot them once, you can flip to a secondary and easily kill them. Another group of weapons that I noticed are different now is the shotguns, and what I was told is they made these changes near the end of closed beta 2 and during closed beta 2. They are way more efficient now, and for the lack of a better term, they are the meta in the early game, especially if you're a solo player trying to deal with groups. Being defensive and using shotguns like the Bulldog especially and the trench gun, you are going to be able to defend yourself pretty efficiently from people if they decide to get very aggressive. It's actually a really good tool. I'm going to be making a video specifically on the Bulldog shotgun in a couple days, showing how you can use it to defend yourself from groups. But the shotgun, again, a very essential key. I ended up just feeling like running the Bulldog shotgun with a bolt action in most situations, rolling around solo. And the shotguns also do really, really good PvE damage, especially to enemies like Rattlers. And you'll quickly find that, especially when you're fighting a player, if you get a couple Rattlers and some Striders on you, you got to really focus them down, or you're going to be taking a lot of unnecessary damage, and that can make the difference between you winning a fight or losing. Now, the shotguns are actually really weird in the cycle. There's a huge difference between ADS and point firing or hip firing. If you hip fire, the spread is going to be pretty wide, and you have a chance of doing way less damage, actually significantly less damage, even if somebody is right up in your face. If you ADS, it seems like the damage is like double of what you'd expect it to be, so making them way more effective. So if you're going to be using the shotguns, you pretty much always want to ADS. And in fact, I feel like the same can be said for most of the guns in the cycle. Aiming down sights just seems to be more reliable, and you get better accuracy and spread. Point firing is all over the place in a lot of cases, and for me personally, I only use it in a pinch if I'm going to be finishing off an enemy with one more bullet, or I'm desperate. So, very interesting. It's unlike a lot of games that I've personally played recently. Some other interesting things to note, especially when it comes to the gray weapons, because all you guys are going to have to use them if you start things off in the game. The SMG used to be very good in the last closed beta test. It is not the greatest this time, and I think that's due to the damage drop-off for SMGs and pistols. That also goes with the pistol. It used to be pretty good in the first beta test, especially whenever you paired it with a bolt action, but the pistol is just not that good, or at least I don't think it's very good. The Scrapper, which is one of the first Korolev weapons, seems to be pretty much standard in compared to the last test, and a lot of players still really like that gun. The Scarab, which was again my personal favorite, I feel like it's been nerfed too much to the point where I just don't feel super happy with it unless I put modifiers like penetration damage modifiers on that weapon. When I've done that, I've actually had a pretty decent time, so that's probably to compensate with the nerfs on the gun. So now let's talk a little bit about the body armors on launch day. Now this is a little controversial because the introduction of microtransactions. So you still have all the body armors that you did before. In fact, they are easier to print. They take less resources at the gear printer, which is good. So you can just start printing green and blue body armors yourself. But if you are somebody who purchased a specialist package on the store, some of those microtransaction packages also include backpacks, body armors, and guns. So this is like Escape From Tarkov, where you don't have a constant supply. It's like EOD. You're given like A4 armor and some guns, and you're probably going to lose it right away. The same is to be said with the cycle, but I think it is a little different. And the difference here is in Escape From Tarkov, if somebody wears a 4 armor on day 1, they probably don't have a face shield. You can still one-tap somebody in the face with a freaking Makarov, and now their 4 armor is your 4 armor. In the cycle, because of the blue and like the color schemed body armor, and there's no like face hitboxes, somebody who's wearing a blue body armor and a blue helmet has the capacity to absorb most of your damage that you have with a gray gun. That is why things like the bolt action and the shotguns are so key on the first day, because they are the great equalizers in those situations. If you're running SMGs, if you're running pistols, even some of the initial rifles, your enemies are going to be able to absorb so much more damage with those body armors that they would have to seriously drop the ball pretty hard in order for you to beat them. And I'm not saying that's not possible. I actually was able to kill a few people using blue body armors, especially with that Bulldog shotgun. But that being said, I think the concern remains. I know a lot of people in the community, including myself, didn't really expect any of the gear to be included in any of the skin packages on the store. So to see them added in there is kind of strange, and I would personally like to see it removed. Now, thankfully, you can't keep rebuying these packages over and over on a single account. So it's not completely pay to win. You're only going to be able to get a few body armors at the beginning of each season, but I do think it gives an advantage that a lot of players are not comfortable with, and it would be better off if we just stick to the ARM for the time skips, the premium insurance, and these skins themselves. I feel like that's more than enough to help finance this game without any level of concern about pay to win. Now I'm going to juggle back to some of the things that I really like about the cycle before ending with one of my last big concerns about the overall gameplay experience. The biggest perk about the cycle is the fact that there's no downtime. You're in the game, you're able to manage your traders, manage your stash, your hideout, interact with other people, and then go and deploy instantaneous into one of the 2 maps. You don't have to sit in a long queue. You don't have to like wait around for the game to load. You launch and boom, you're in your dropship going right down to the planet, starting your match. This is easily the best feature that the cycle has to offer. It's super immersive, it's really fucking cool, and the animation around the dropships and the ability to see the enemy dropships landing into the world is a huge touch, and one of the things that a lot of the games similar to the cycle don't provide. It's a lot of instance-based, closed-off matches with long queue times, and that puts a lot of people off. And I'm specifically talking about Hunt Showdown and Escape from Tarkov here. In addition to that, the skybox is amazing, the atmospheric effects and the graphics are really good and meet the vibe. And I know the art style might not be for everybody, but it really fits what the cycle is all about, and I personally like it. I also personally really like the feedback that you get whenever you're fighting other players. The hit markers feel crisp, the visual indicator of eliminating an enemy whenever they puff up in medical foam. It just provides a really satisfying experience that makes me want to go back and PvP constantly in this game, which is one of the biggest gameplay loops that the cycle has to offer. It's not just all about making money and buying that gear, it's using it as well. Now right now there's only one game mode, which is deploying onto the planet in one of two maps and trying to survive going towards your extraction. Now for grouping up, you can be a solo, a duo, or a 3-man team, and you all deploy into the same planetary surface as everybody else. There isn't a solo queue, there isn't a group queue. It's like Tarkov. You don't know exactly what you're going to expect unless you visually see those groups falling from the sky onto the surface. Now in games like Escape from Tarkov, if you go up against a group, you have the ability to kill your enemy with well-placed shots with a single round, either by shooting them in the face, shooting at their legs, or having ammunition that's capable of puncturing through their body armor and killing them in 2 shots or so. In the cycle, it does not work like that because of the armor system. If somebody has a blue body armor and a blue helmet, you can certainly get headshot modifiers, but you are unable to kill them with a single bullet in most cases. It is a DPS race with well-placed shots. If you're a good player with green or blue body armor and a decent weapon, going head-to-head with a duo or a 3-man squad, it is very likely that even if you're a very skilled player, you do not have the DPS capable of getting through all of their body armors to eliminate your enemy. You can certainly maneuver, you can hide and cover, you can do what I mentioned earlier, using a shotgun or a bulldog to quickly eliminate one before switching to another. But it is not the same as other games in the genre. It is very different, which is what makes the solo versus a duo or 3-man squad a really difficult debate, and one that I personally don't really have an answer for. I also don't think separating these groups and solos is a good idea either. One of the reasons why games like this cycle work is the unpredictability of what is happening on the planet's surface. You don't know if you're going to be going up against a bunch of solos. You might visually see a 3-man squad drop down. You might try to outmaneuver and outplay a group. Being a solo and eliminating a squad is one of the greatest feelings in these games. I've personally already did it on launch day, and I've even taken out a 3-man team, although I was using a blue shotgun and they were using gray body armors, but it was still a good feeling. So eliminating that from the game, I personally think would take away from the experience. What they could do is try to implement a solo queue on a different map that doesn't have nearly as many resources, or a PvP-oriented map that is specifically for solo queues, but that would potentially take away from the experience of not really knowing exactly what is going on, and it also wouldn't prevent people from meeting in the actual world themselves and using VoIP to interact to group up. In fact, that might be pretty fun, just saying that out loud, but I'm not exactly too sure if that's the right direction either. I think at the end of the day, we just have to accept that with the cycle, groups are going to have a massive advantage, and the sooner that you can get better equipment, purple weapons, purple body armor, it's going to make your life as a solo player much easier. Using weapons like shotguns and bolt actions are almost going to be essential for you to bring every single match, or unlocking some of the more powerful SMGs like the ASP. Being more smart about how you engage situations, using cover, grenades, being defensive, when to be aggressive. These are all things that are going to assist you as a solo player, and it's certainly not impossible. The last 2 days, I've had a blast playing solo, going up against singles, duos, and trios, and my survival rating is well over 70%, closing in on 80%. With lots of prospector kills. It's not impossible, but we're currently playing a different game. The cycle will be different in a few weeks from now, where more purple and blue gear is going to be out there, and that is going to be a completely different experience, and one of which I hope I can commentate on. Well guys, that is my impressions of the launch week for the Cycle Frontier and some of my concerns touching on the microtransactions, the weapons, and the body armors. Of course, as always, I would love to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. Be sure to subscribe and enable those notifications if you're brand new to my channel. Watch my live streams Monday through Friday starting at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, I'll see you guys in the next YouTube video.